All right, let's get into it. Obviously, everybody wants to talk quarterbacks first, and that's what we'll start with. So I put a halftime kind of like mid-game rant together talking about Trey Lance, and I'll just recap that real quick. There definitely was some ups and downs. I'll put it that way. There was some awful plays. There was some good plays. And really the best way that I could surmise it at this point is to say, first of all, I got to see the all 22 because early on, I don't know. I don't know if it's on the offensive line is to the reason that the pressure was getting there. I don't know if it's on Trey Lance. I don't know if it's on the receivers not getting separation. I don't know if it's a combination of all three. All 22, I should get my hands on it tomorrow. I'll make a video, and that way everybody can see it and then come up with their own conclusion. So I don't know exactly what happened early, but what I can say is regardless of how or why, it was very, very ugly. Very ugly early on. And then it actually started to look good. He was able to move the ball. They were able to go score, albeit on the very, very lucky play, no doubt about it. Should have been a pick. And then you had another near pick to end the half, followed by some really good throws to go put yourself in a position to score when you had, I think it was around 30 seconds or so on the clock, starting it around your own 18-yard line. So there was some good. There was some awful. It was kind of just like, I don't know. It wasn't spectacular by any means. It was just kind of a day. So that's what I thought of Trey Lance at halftime. I'll let you talk about Trey Lance, and then we can get into Sam Darnold as well. But what were your thoughts on Trey Lance in the offense in the first half?
Well, first of all, I'm happy. I know the game is really bad. I'm happy we'll finally get to see some all 22 because during training camp when bad days happened, we couldn't go back and see what we initially thought was true or not. And so that's what I'm happy. So, definitely you make final reservations after seeing the game again. But overall, I mean, it would be hard to say that it wasn't a disappointing day for Trey Lance. Not only because of how it ended up going along, but because in a way, the hype going into this game for the quarterback, right? He had gotten the start, the first preseason start, potentially indicating that the 49ers viewed him as the higher quarterback in their quarterback 2 race. And he had gotten the opportunity after, a pretty quiet joint practices because all the first team reps and majority of the reps went to Brock Purdy. And so again, your first drive ends up in 2 sacks on 3 dropbacks. And it's not a pretty drive overall. The sacks, it seemed somewhere on Lance, somewhere on the offensive line, 4 overall. I thought it was 2 and 2. I am not sure if 3 were on Lance or not, but I'll have to go back and look. But Lance, it's interesting because I thought that there were a few throws he should have made. He should have hit some of the show throws. People like to call them gimmies. I thought that some of those throws he should have hit. He did have some nice throws, a 15 in to Conley. You could talk about the wobble, whatever, but it was on the money. He had a couple of nice throws. That one was one. Another one was at the very end of the second half. He had a nice throw. And overall, there were some nice plays, but they were also the really head-scratching throws from Lance. A near interception in the end zone, which would have been pretty poor, obviously dropped off the defender's hands, and then another one off the linebacker's hands, where it seemed that, early on, Lance was hesitant, and then as Lance grew, while there were some good plays, there would be a sprinkle of bad plays, and that's kind of what summed up today's game. Not a great day for Lance.
Yeah, and I would say, there were some interesting things as well. Like, I don't know what was with. Let me look at how the game started. I'm gonna go through the drives real quick. Hold on a second. Okay, so first drive, no runs. Second drive, 1 run. That was like a no-yard gain. Third drive, no runs. And it was like, okay, just sit in the pocket and pass. Like, don't use his mobility. Don't run the ball. We're just going to go in on Trey Lance's right arm, which I'm like, okay, it's an interesting game plan. Then I would say at drive 4 it started to look like, I'll quote, use check. It started to look like 49er football, where they were going horizontal a little bit more. They were getting him, getting to move the pocket. And that's where he, and not just him, but the offense started to look comfortable. The offensive line seemed like they were able to protect. They felt more comfortable in that situation. And so overall, that's when things started to look better. He then finishes 8 of 11 from that point on. And, this is why you watch the game, because if you look at the numbers, like if I don't watch and I just look at the numbers, what are you, 10 of 15, 112 yards and a touchdown? I'm like, damn, right. Lance must have balled out, right? No, he didn't ball out. He did not ball out by any means. So that is why you watch the games and you don't stat track and do those types of things, because again, if that's what you're doing, then on the surface it looked good, but overall it did not look good. There were some good things, there were some awful things, and again, I'm very curious to see how the all-22 plays out, because that will change my mind a little bit. Like right now, it's like a 5 out of 10, but I could go up to maybe a 7 if it's all on the offensive line, and I could go down to a 3 if it's all on Trey, those early sacks. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, with Trey Lance in his day. And then the offense, I would say the best thing that he did throughout the day was there was one really, really good escape that he had where I don't know how he got out of it. They seemed to be at his feet. He was able to pull out of the sack and then complete a pass on the sideline. And then after the near interception again to end the half, to move the ball down the field that quickly and get the team in scoring range, that was also very good. But again, there was some ugly stuff as well. So, all right, let's talk about Sam Darnold a little bit. What was your thoughts on him for the day?
Better than Trey Lance is what I would say. I think he finished the day 5 of 8 for 84 yards. And the thing that really popped out to me early on, right, when we talk about Sam Darnold, I thought the number one thing, because he had a pretty solid first drive. It was the drive that ended out on downs. Something though that popped out, more time in the pocket, and it was a mix, because it was a mix of that, and also the 49ers implementing a half and half, a run pass dynamic, which seemed to freshen up the offensive line a little bit. And also, again, it's the backup. Like, it's the backups versus the backups. The Raiders put in more backups. Thought Darnold looked a little more comfortable after that. The big play was the one to Ronnie Bell, a really nice ball for a 37-yard gain and a good catch from Ronnie Bell. But he had a couple of nice plays. He had a pass to Winstead. He had a pass to Tay Martin. He had, I believe those were the biggest plays, if I'm looking at it, on that drive. And it led to a 4th and 1 at the 31-yard line. And obviously that's where it you hope you convert on 4th and 1. Couldn't clearly convert there. But I thought he led a nice drive to start things off, and it was a nice array of runs and passes. I think Darnold on that 9-play drive had only, if I'm counting 3 passes, had only 3 passes. So, it was a nice array, because he had 59 yards on those 3 passes. Then obviously his next drive was thwarted by a fumble. And then his final drive, they drove 30 more yards. But again, a nice array of passes. And this was the one where he looked a little more shaky, had the PBU intended for Ronnie Bell, where the safety rookie Christopher Smith kind of broke in, really nice break on that play, and then hit Ronnie Bell later on for a good ball, the play right after. But, this one was where he was looking a little more shaky. Some inaccuracies came out. Still, was it a good day for Sam Darnold? Maybe. I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as a great day. Not a bad day for Sam Darnold. Average. It's just plain average. And so that's the way that I'd look at it. Nothing too special from Sam Darnold. The one really solid throw was to Ronnie Bell. Had a turnover-worthy play as well. Average.
Yeah, definitely. I just, they weren't able to put any points on the board. Not all his fault either. But here's the thing. And it's one preseason game. Okay. And it's preseason.